Hello. Did you miss me? I'm your host, Chester Franklin, and welcome back to Death to Chester podcast. We are on episode 6, and I apologize for the wait. I typically release an episode every 2 weeks. This episode is coming out 3 weeks since the last episode. A few reasons behind that. Number one reason was that episode 5, Pleasure Pets, didn't quite do the numbers that I was expecting and hoping that it would do. I was really excited about that episode. I was sharing a story of, 3 stories of kind of intertwined. 3 people that I met in my lifetime that had these sexual relations with animals. And I thought this material was going to be gold. I thought it was going to, my numbers were going to blow up. I was excited for the comments. I was excited to see my numbers going up. I thought that, I personally thought it was very entertaining, a very entertaining true story. And it just didn't do the numbers that I expected, and that's okay. I do this for the love of the game. And I can't, 6 episodes in now, expect my podcast just to, blow up overnight. And so in this instance, I need to just kind of lower my expectations and just keep doing what I'm doing. If you haven't seen it, though, I do highly recommend it. But based on the numbers, I'm just assuming that, people probably watched it and thought, what can I really get out of this? Or it's too dirty for me. And that's okay. This episode, though, I'm going to kind of get more back to basics as far as, like, if you've seen my first 2 episodes about my life story and about sobriety, that's what this episode is kind of about. I'm going to kind of plug in some of my life experiences and really kind of give you a heads up. If you're thinking about getting sober or clean, stopping drinking or drugs, I really do want to, share with you kind of, as somebody who's gone through it, I want to share with you what that kind of looks like. And I'm titling this episode Lower Expectations because sobriety isn't going to look like what you think it's really going to look like. And you need to lower your expectations because you might bum yourself out and then turn back to drinking and using drugs. And I don't want that for you. If you are somebody who identifies yourself as even potentially having a problem, I highly encourage you to seek help and to get clean and sober. But just know that putting that bottle down alone, or, not using drugs just by itself, just doing away with that, it does give you a fighting chance at a higher quality of life, a better quality of life, but it's not all sunshines and rainbows. So get clean. If you have a problem, seek help that you need. But I'm going to share with you kind of my experience with it, and maybe it'll kind of be enlightening to somebody out there that's struggling, and just kind of will give you a little bit of a heads up on what to expect. So you may be somebody whose family, whose spouse or friends are asking you to seek help for some behavior, whether it's drinking or drugs, that's concerning to them. You're going to be in a mind state, you're going to kind of be in this haze because you're drunk all the time. You're high all the time, and you're going to tell yourself, I don't have a problem. I'm perfectly fine being fucked up all the time, being high or drunk all the time. I'm perfectly fine with it. It's their problem. They're the ones that have a problem with it. They're the ones that don't like it. Why should I change? Why should I have to change for other people's comfort? And that mind state right there is an example of how drugs and alcohol can kind of take a hold of us and convince us that the drug or alcohol is more important than our families, more important than our marriages, more important than any other relationship with any other being out there. And some of us, I don't know the term for it, but basically our excuse would be, especially if you have a stressful life, would be like, well, if you had my life, you would be drinking like this too. Or if you went through what I'm going through with my baby mama or whatever, you would be high too. But you can't judge me because you're not going through that. But if you knew what I was feeling, what I was going through, you would be doing this too. And in the process of you having that mind state and continuing to drink and to do drugs, your life more and more crumbles around you, and you're left in a very uncomfortable place. And so before you hit rock bottom, I would encourage you, if others are encouraging you, asking you, begging you to seek some help, please do so. Please get in touch with a substance abuse counselor or go to rehab. Get on top of it, because at least then you're giving yourself a fighting chance at happiness. You're giving yourself a fighting chance at a better quality of life. A chance. A chance. But I need for you to also lower your expectations. It's the name of the episode, Lower Expectations. Lower your expectations on what sobriety is going to look like for you. Because for me, for example, my wife at the time had asked me for years to seek some help, get on top of my unhealthy drinking habits, and I would not do it. I did not want to do it. I loved drinking. I loved alcohol. I was convinced, partially, from her things that she was saying, that, if I go get sober, come back to the family, everything's going to be peachy. I can be the father, the husband, the overall man that I'm meant to be. And everything's just going to be great. Well, I got sober, and I right off the bat, my first day out of rehab, realized I wasn't going back home, and all of that was over and behind me. So I had this expectation. I'm going to put the bottle down, I'm going to get healthy, and everything's going to be okay. That's not always the case. There was no guarantee that getting sober by itself is going to, make your life great. That there's no guarantee things are going to necessarily get better, not right away anyway. So that's number one. Okay? When people have been begging you, especially if it's a spouse or something like that, when people have been begging you for years to get clean, to get sober, and during that time, you're doing more and more damage to these relationships because you're not wanting to get sober or get clean. So you're doing like all this damage to these relationships. So you go and get sober, and you come back and be like, hey, we're all good now. Those people don't forget about all of those things that you did while you were drunk and high. All the things that you said when you were drunk and high. You know how many times I told my wife while I was drunk to go fuck herself, to go fuck off. Well, guess what? She did. I went and got sober. I tried to come back thinking everything was going to be great. But people hold resentments. So you might have this promise that everything's going to be better and things are going to get back to the way they were when you first, as soon as you get sober. And you get sober and you feel good. You're ready to play the role that you should have been playing the whole time. And people are not going to be so quick to take you back and to forgive you. Those coworkers that you came into work drunk and you lost your cell phone somewhere because you're blacking out and passing out in cubicles and in bathrooms, and one of your coworkers comes up to you like, "Hey, is this your phone? This happened to me." And I said yes, and I took my phone back, and then I accused that coworker of stealing my phone. I have oinked at coworkers, at women coworkers, when they told me something I didn't like or whatever, or I felt because I was drunk or whatever, I kind of felt like, who the fuck are they to talk to me like this? Or what do they think? Or I don't know, you start having ideas that aren't real, that like somebody's like talking down to you or talking to you like you're stupid or something like that. I can't really explain it. You have to kind of go through it to understand what I'm saying, I guess. But instead of a sober person just kind of being like analyzing their feelings, like, oh, did a person mean it this way? Or maybe I can maturely communicate with this person. Hey, I didn't like how you said that. What did you mean by this? No, I chose to oink. Like, fuck you. Like, you fat pig. And just because you get sober and you think everything's good and you come back to work, those women don't forget that you oinked at them. And they will still hate you. Your wife, who you told to fuck off, and you get sober and you think that you're just going to come back home and start being the leader of the house again and take control of the family, and they don't forget that time that you told them to fuck off. The time that you didn't come back home that night because you were in an argument and you were drunk and you're like, fuck it, I'm going to get them back. I'm just not going to come back home. All these things, all this harm that you do to relationships doesn't get better just because you get sober. People don't forget what you did to them, what you said to them. So I want you to lower your expectations on thinking that as soon as you get sober or clean, that everything just automatically gets better. There's no guarantee it will, because people don't forget. If you get to a point where you finally decide, okay, I'm going to check myself into rehab, I need the extra help, I need to be locked away somewhere where I cannot access alcohol. It's become too much a part of my routine. I drink around the clock. I'm always going back and forth from this liquor store to that liquor store because I've already been to this liquor store 2 or 3 times today, and I don't want them thinking I have a problem. So I'm going to hit 3 different liquor stores this time and kind of make myself look less bad. So I don't feel so embarrassed about being addicted to something, to be addicted to alcohol. So I need to be locked away somewhere where I can't access this thing that I love, that is damaging my life, but I can't let it go. So I'm gonna go to rehab. Well, when you go to rehab, it's going to be a little bit of a shock to your system because you need to detox. So your body's going to be detoxing. You think rehab is somewhere where you're going to get all the rest in the world that you need. No, you won't. You'll be woken up at a certain time, usually around 6 a.m. for breakfast. You're not going to have the option just to lay in bed all day. You will have to get up and do activities related to getting sober or clean. You'll have basically miniature 12-step program sessions throughout the day. They will keep you active. You will not be able to lay around all day. Furthermore, when you're detoxing, these rehab facilities are really nervous about you dying while you're in their care. I'm not sure it happens so much with things like meth or coke addiction, but with alcohol, especially if you had a 20-year history of drinking like I did, of daily drinking, when you just suddenly just stop drinking, alcohol and I can't think of the drug, but there's one of the drugs are actually like the most deadly things to detox from. You can have a heart attack, you can have a stroke. If your body is physiologically used to having alcohol or whatever that other substance is, circulating throughout your bloodstream and throughout your body, through your organs and all that stuff, your body becomes dependent on that substance. And if you just cut that off, alcohol can be very deadly. You could start having seizures. It can get really bad. So my expectation was, okay, I'm going to go rest up and get healthy in rehab, not realizing that these people are going to be waking me up all throughout the night, every 2 hours, to take my blood pressure and to kind of like check me out, make sure I'm not shaking and I'm not convulsing and, more or less that I'm still alive. And so if you think that when you go to rehab, that's what it's going to be like, a little vacation, I need you to lower your expectations. And when you're in rehab, you're not going to be alone. You're going to be in there. I was in a co-ed facility. So you're going to be in there with plenty of other people going through their own thing. They may be in there for fentanyl. They may be in there to get clean from duster, from the spray can duster. People get addicted to that. And so you're going to be surrounded by a lot of people. And, I did a 30-day program. Some people do longer. And you're going to start forming friendships with these people, relationships with these people. You're going to be attending these group sessions all together. And you're going to hear some real wild stuff come from people, from their experiences. You're going to get real close with certain individuals. You're going to make friends. You're going to form bonds with these people. These people that are in these sessions with you, in rehab with you, in some cases are going to know more about you, the inner workings of you, your experiences, who you are, what you've done. They're going to be more familiar with that than your family. And so you're going to form these friendships and relationships, and you guys are locked in there 24 hours a day together. You may, one person might be your roommate that you get really close with, and you guys work out every day together. I was doing, multiple hundreds of push-ups a day with my roommate. We would stay up all night laughing and joking about maybe something that happened during the day, and, you're gonna form friendships and relationships. The thing that I feel that I need to share is that, unfortunately, as close with these people as you get, after rehab, those relationships tend to disintegrate. Everybody kind of gets into their own life. And so you might get out of rehab and you might be able to stay in touch with somebody over the phone for a little bit, for a few months. But eventually, that all disappears. So if you think that these friendships and relationships that you're forming in rehab are gonna last, I need you to lower your expectations. It's not like that. Many of my friendships that I formed in rehab, after getting to know these people and these people getting to know me, I'm seeing them, have all these milestones in their life through essentially just through Facebook. I haven't hung out with any of these people. I haven't had any actual long-lasting relationship or friendship last, despite opening myself up to these people over, my time in rehab. But those friendships will not last. They will fade away. And so, yeah. And then so after rehab, I had shared with you all that I moved to a sober living facility. That first month out of rehab, you're going to be on what a lot of people in the 12-step programs will describe as the pink cloud. The pink cloud is where you feel so upbeat, life is going good, everything's awesome, you just feel great. Your body now has finally regulated itself, not having those substances in your body anymore. You kind of got through the initial bummed out feeling, the depression. You've probably processed that like certain relationships are over, your marriage is over. It's just things are going to be different, but you know what? I think I'm okay with that. You're going to feel great. You're not in a cloudy space anymore where you're always like kind of hazy and hungover. You're just like you're clear, you're open-minded. You're going to start like taking a walk down the street and you're going to start noticing things again. You're going to start noticing certain smells. You're going to start noticing the birds chirping. You're going to start noticing the bees on the flowers, and you're going to be like, wow, I'm in touch again. This is beautiful. I'm experiencing life. Everything is new again. You'll start smelling the flowers. You'll start, kind of getting yourself in a routine again, making your bed every day, making sure the trash is taken out. You're going to kind of be on top of things. You're going to be feeling good. If you think that's going to last, I need you to lower your expectations. After the pink cloud finally dissipates, you're just back in life again. You're back in the rhythm of your routine, going to work. You might be going to school, things like that. And you're going to tune out the birds and the bees and the flowers once again. You're going to get into the routine. You're not going to be worried about the minutia of life. You're going to kind of just get caught up in your routine, and you're going to lose that pink cloud. You're not going to feel so excited about being sober some days. You're still going to want to drink again. You're still going to think about it. You'd be like, okay, this was great for as long as it lasted. I felt great, but now I'm starting to feel bummed out again. I'm realizing all the things that I lost again. And you're probably going to be by yourself. And you're going to be telling yourself, hey, I'm ready to meet somebody. I want to meet somebody. I already destroyed this relationship over here. I want to find somebody else who can love me and spend time with me and maybe fuck me. And you're going to think about going to a bar. You're going to think about going to a club, something where you can put yourself in a position to meet people. Because when you're, I'm 35. I mean, where am I going to meet people? I go to work. I work sometimes 80 hours a week. I already graduated college, so I'm not going to be able to go meet anybody there. I mean, where does a pretty much middle-aged man go and meet a woman? It's probably going to be somewhere where there's drinking involved. And so you contemplate in your head, well, okay, drinking destroyed my life. I lost my family, my kids. That's all fractured, destroyed. Now I'm sober. I'm doing good. But now I'm just by myself. And I don't have the alcohol to be my friend anymore. You know, I don't have that relationship either anymore. So you're really limited as an adult unless you want to do, like, I don't know, some type of online app or something like that, which I've never done. But unless you do that, you're going to start feeling alone. And you're going to pretty much kind of come to the conclusion that the only place to meet somebody is somewhere where there's drinking. And then thinking in your head, even though it destroyed my life the first time around, maybe I can get back into it. And that's something that a thought in my head that I didn't listen to and I did not act on, is going back out and trying to drink again in order to have a relationship. You want to be very careful with the thoughts that go in through your head. Your mind is going to try to trick you. My mind tries to kill me. My mind sometimes tells me it might be a good idea to drink again. My mind tells me sometimes, or has in the past especially, to kill myself. These thoughts will sneak into your head when you get sober, because you have a very dangerous mind. You have the mind of an addict, somebody who's addicted to something. And your mind is trying to take you out. So after that pink cloud dissipates, you're going to be faced with a mindset, and a brain that's going to sometimes take you to some dark places and try to get you to make the same mistake over and over again. And you have to break that. You have to break that thought process. And that's something that takes counseling. That's something that, for me, caused me to seek out like more spiritual kind of help, get my spiritual health in order. I got into the Bible, reading it myself. And you're going to need other resources to kind of battle that thought process. So if you think you're going to get sober and your mind's just going to be clean and you're just, okay, I'm healthy now. I need you to lower your expectations. It's going to take a little bit more work on your part than just putting down a drink and thinking everything's going to be okay. You may seek out a 12-step program. That's a place where other alcoholics or addicts meet up and kind of tell their stories and tell where they're at, how many days clean they are, how many years. And it's supposed to be like a support group. You can get a sponsor and start working through those 12 steps with your sponsor. You're going to maybe get involved in some events that they have. A lot of 12-step programs, they have things where, they raise some money and you all can go camping. Or you can all have a barbecue at a local park. And it'll be, 50, 60 people that show up, all a part of the program. You guys become kind of your own community if that's the path that you take. And if that's appealing to you, then you should certainly, be a part of something like that. Form these new friendships and relationships and stuff like that. But if you think that those relationships are going to continue if you make a mistake and you slip up and you start drinking again or doing some type of drug again, if you think those people that you went camping with and had all these experiences with in the 12-step program, if you think that's going to continue if you choose to drink again, uh, I need you to lower your expectations. All these people you form relationships with in the program, if you slip up and go drink again, they're not your friends anymore. Because they want to stay sober. They want to stay clean. So they can't really surround themselves with you anymore. Even if they wanted to, they really can't, because that's a threat to their own sobriety and such. So you will basically be outcast. Now, I'm sure you can reconnect with them if you end up coming back to the rooms. You sober up again, you get clean again. But your friendships are only as durable and long-lasting as your sobriety in those environments. So lower the expectations on, what that looks like. You think you're making lifelong friends, but I've never been that type of person. I'm that type of person that if somebody that I met in the program or in rehab, they go back to drinking, if you call me, I'll still talk to you. You can still be my friend. I might not hang out with you that much or whatever, but I don't do that with anybody anyway, But I'm not going to cast you out of, and turn my back on you just because you started drinking again. But everybody's a little different, and in those environments, that just kind of seems to be how it goes. And so another thing about those 12-step programs, when you very first get sober, you're going to have a lot of emotions come up. I think I cried at every meeting that I went to for the first maybe 3 months. I couldn't share my story, share how things are going without crying about everything that I lost, all the mistakes I made, how much of a piece of shit I am, and I would just cry while I was sharing. And you would think you're in a room full of people, 20, say it's even just 20 people, and you think, they'll be like, "Oh," and come pat you on the back, and it's all right, buddy. If you think you're going to go to a 12-step program and people are going to have pity on you, I need you to lower your expectations. Some of these people are in there that they're not only struggling with being sober, but they're also struggling with the fact that, one of their kids just killed themselves, and how they're going to stay sober through that. You have other people that may relate to you that's also going through a divorce, but maybe it's more messy than what you're going through. They can certainly relate to you, but if you think that you're going to get some type of, some type of like hugs or something, like, forget about it. Everybody's going through something, and you're going to cry. You're going to be sharing your story and crying, and you're going to look around a room, and everyone is going to just be staring at you, or you're going to see some like older men just like kind of looking down like, "Oh boy, this is embarrassing for him." You're going to feel you would think that you would feel relieved by getting this stuff off your chest, and then sometimes you're just going to leave feeling stupid and just as alone. Now, you may attend a meeting like I did. There was a place that I especially liked going to every week. And I did find somebody who had some type of sympathy for me, or, gave me some encouragement to just keep going. You would hope that it's one of the more attractive women that you see in the meeting. You would hope that, because women love a fixer-upper. And those women are fixer-uppers themselves, so they don't have the ego that they deserve a certain type of man, or they expect this and that. Hey, you guys are kind of on the same playing field, So maybe you guys can form a relationship or a friendship. No, it's not going to be those women. It's not going to be the women that you could potentially have a relationship with or have sex with. It's not going to be one of these old men that have lost a whole lot, kind of been where you've been at. It's not going to be them that come and give you that comfort. In my case, it was an old lady with saggy titties that sagged down to her waistline, that every day when I would come to a meeting, or any of the days that I would come to a meeting, she would be the one that wanted to come give me a hug. She had missing teeth, severe gingivitis. About one of the teeth that she did have left was a dead tooth. And when I would come in, I would get hugs from her. So if you think you're going to get into a program or go to a program and find you a woman, and I've seen it happen, you could find you a woman in there. It does happen. But I'm going to need you to lower your expectations. The only comfort that you're going to get is from a woman that reminds you of your Nana, if your Nana was a mechanic on a big rig, or if your Nana was like a crab fisherman. That's going to be the only person to offer you any comfort. And unless you're into grannies, she's not going to fuck you. So these are the things that I need you to kind of keep in mind when you go to get sober. It's a great move. It's probably just what you need to get your life back on track and to give you a foundation to build upon and actually have great things and have a better quality of life. But it's not going to quite be what you expected. You're going to get sober, and all those bills that you kind of put to the wayside, I'll pay them when I pay them, or those taxes that you forgot to file last year because you just been so drunk, I'll just get to it when I get to it, no big deal. You're going to start getting notices in the mail. You're going to start having debt collectors call you. Those people didn't forget that you owe them money. You may just be getting sober and had lost your job. You're going to need to get a job, and you're going to be in debt. You're not going to get sober and everyone just forgives the debt that you've accrued and just, threw to the wayside and wasn't really worried about at the time because you were drunk all the time. Certain realities are going to start to hit you that aren't very pleasant. But listen, this is the positive message to all these things. You're gonna be fine. Everything is going to work out for you the way that it's meant to work out. If you really want to get sober, you can do it. You can do this. You can have a better life, but it's going to take work. You have an addictive personality. Okay, I have this pickle on my hat. One of the sayings is, once you start off as a cucumber. We all start off as a cucumber. But with our drinking and drug use and stuff like that, we turn into a pickle. Once you become a pickle, you can never go back to being a cucumber. So if you think that you make all these changes and you're going to just go back to being like a normal functioning human in society, that's not the case. You're still going to have that addictive part about you. You're going to start looking at things that to replace the alcohol. You're going to start drinking more coffee or energy drinks. You're going to start smoking tobacco and doing nicotine and maybe vapes. You're going to start trying to get into relationships. You may become a sex addict. This addictive personality doesn't end when you put down the substance. You're going to be finding something, naturally, you're going to be finding something else to be addicted to. Sex, whatever it may be, the gym, masturbation. Once you're an addict, once you're a pickle, you can't go back to being a cucumber. You're going to constantly be in a battle of filling that empty void left by the absence of alcohol and drugs. So if you think you're going to lose that part about yourself, if you think that you're not going to stop being an alcoholic and then become a gambling addict, I need you to lower your expectations. Be conscious of the fact that you're never going to be normal again, a normal cucumber. You're a pickle. You've become an addict. When you were drinking at first, you didn't just automatically become an alcoholic. It took time. It took effort. But once you get addicted to alcohol or addicted to a drug, you kind of create or produce that wiring in your brain, and it doesn't go away. So just make sure when you do get sober, when you do get clean, that you have a plan, maybe a hobby like podcasting or something of that nature that's healthy to put your time and effort into. Something healthy that you can be addicted to, because you're still going to want to be addicted to something. I can't really explain it, but it just feels like there's something missing and that you need to fill that with something. And that's where therapy comes in. That's where maybe church comes in for a lot of people. And if you're willing to go through all these ups and downs, if you're able to accept that when you fuck up, you're not going to be able to blame alcohol anymore for your fuck up. You lose your excuse for telling somebody to fuck off when you're sober. Somebody might forgive you for telling them to fuck off. Oh, okay, you were drunk. Okay, I forgive you. When you're sober and you tell somebody to fuck off, what's your excuse? You lose your excuse for why you fucked up. Keep that in mind. But if you can get through all of this stuff, you can realize that sobriety is not just going to be sunshines and rainbows, that the struggle continues, that you're going to constantly have to pay attention to things or behaviors that may open you up to drinking or using drugs again. If you're really ready to stop the chaos in your life, and you're choosing to stop drinking and using drugs as a means to ending the chaos in your life, do it. Go for it. Give it your best shot. You owe it to yourself to do that. I highly encourage you to do that. But in doing so, just lower your expectations on exactly what you think that's going to look like, feel like, or how you picture your life is going to be like. I had a 5-bedroom house. I'm currently recording in a 1-bedroom apartment now. I had a man cave. I had 4 stepkids and, my 2 kids. And I am in a 1-bedroom house, or a 1-bedroom apartment, living by myself. That's not what I thought was going to happen when I got sober. I thought everything was going to come back and be great, like a fairy tale, and happily ever after. That's why I tell you, lower your expectations. But if you can get through all this shit, it's worth it. Your sobriety, your clean time alone is worth it. Do not get discouraged. I hope I didn't discourage anybody out there. I have to be blunt, because nobody's going to tell you this. It's usually something that you have to kind of go through on your own. And so I'm hoping that this is an informative episode. I hope that it was helpful. And that's where I'm at today. Those are my realizations. If this episode helped you in any form or fashion, please do leave a comment on the video. I do appreciate any and all feedback that I get. Thank you for listening to me today, and I will catch you in 2 more weeks. Until then, just know that you're worth it. You're valuable. Even if it's only to yourself, you're valuable. I love you all. Until next time, Chester Franklin signing out. Bye-bye.